What is up, guys? This is Alex from Double Move Sports, and today I am getting into an NFL first round mock draft. I'm going to pick for every single team here. It's the first mock draft I have done of the season, so we're going to try to keep it clean, keep it quick. Probably won't be doing too much trading around. I'll get into that in some future mock drafts as we do get closer to the NFL draft. But before I jump in, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, at Double Move Sports, we are coming out with a newsletter, a weekly newsletter where we're just going to give you updates. We're going to review some hot topics that we talk about on our YouTube channel as well. That link is in the description below. So if you like that medium for consuming some fantasy football or general NFL content, be sure to sign up. But let's go ahead and jump right in to this mock draft. And first on the clock is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not gonna mess around too much here. I think the home run pick here is Trevor Lawrence. I know there's people out there that think Zach Wilson is the best quarterback in this class. I think they're crazy. Jacksonville needs to go with Trevor Lawrence here. So we're going to go ahead and lock that in. Moving to the Jets at number 2, and this is where it does start to get interesting. It comes down to, are they going to keep Sam Darnold and try to move back and pick up talent, or are they going to go ahead and take the quarterback? I do think they will move on from Sam Darnold, take a quarterback here. The question becomes, which guy is it going to be? Zach Wilson is rising right now. His draft stock is rising. I still think Justin Fields will go early in the first round, and we will get into that. But the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson here at number 2 to be their quarterback of the future. Now at number 3, we have the Miami Dolphins, and they could go several different ways with this pick. They could pick Penei Sewell from Oregon, a fantastic offensive tackle to help protect Tua Tagovailoa. They could go defense, but I think a pick that makes sense here is Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU. He's the best wide receiver in this draft. They need some help at the position along with Devontae Parker there in Miami. So Jamar Chase gives Tua a huge dominant weapon on the outside moving forward. Now at number 4, things are tough for the Atlanta Falcons. They could go quarterback here. They could go defense. Or they could simply go best available. And I still think Matt Ryan has several years of good play in the tank with a good team around him. So I think the Atlanta Falcons should go with a guy that is going to help them make maybe one more final push here. I think it's still too early for them to take a quarterback. I know there's rumors about Matt Ryan, and they certainly could. They could take a Justin Fields, a Trey Lance, and develop them behind Matt Ryan. But I actually would love to see the Atlanta Falcons go with Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. Julio Jones has battled injury. Calvin Ridley is making a rise to the top, and Kyle Pitts would just give them a matchup nightmare at the tight end spot. I know they still have Hayden Hurst there as well, but Pitts is more of a pass catcher classification than a tight end, so that would give them another dynamic weapon in this offense for Matt Ryan moving forward. Now with the Bengals at number 5, if the draft board falls this way, I think it's an absolute home run for the Bengals to take Penei Sewell out of Oregon. They desperately need help on the offensive line. Jonah Williams has been back. He's been okay. He's battled continuous injury on one tackle spot. I think Sewell would be great to lock down the other tackle spot, protect Joe Burrow, hopefully get some things going and some efficiency in the run game as well. So this will be an absolute home run for the Bengals if Sewell falls to number 5. Now with the Eagles at number 6, I know there's some rumor that they could take a quarterback here. I know there's rumor they could take a quarterback. Jalen Hurts showed some flashes last season. You still would have, in this case, Justin Fields, Trey Lance on the board. There's some defense as well. Micah Parsons could be a good pick for them. But they also need wide receiver. I mean, Deshaun Jackson's gone, and it's not like he was even there on the field anyway over the past couple seasons. Jalen Reagor was in and out. Alshon Jeffrey is a thing of the past. So they desperately need a dominant wide receiver. I want to see them take Devontae Smith out of Alabama, Heisman winner, absolute fantastic artistic route runner. He would give them a true number 1 option in the offense. They would still have Jalen Reagor there as a burner as well. So we're going to lock in Devontae Smith out of Alabama for the Philadelphia Eagles. Moving on to number 7, Detroit Lions. There's a lot of teams that could take quarterback in this first round. The Lions are one of them. But with Jared Goff there, they're truly in a rebuild. I think they have more needs than just the quarterback spot. So we're going to go ahead and address the defense. And we're going to lock in Micah Parsons, linebacker from Penn State, best linebacker in this draft, in my opinion. to give them a true piece to build around on the defensive side of the ball. I know they have Jeff Okudah there, who they drafted last year as well. So they really start to build some young talent on the defense with Micah Parsons there at number 7. Moving on to number 8, the Carolina Panthers. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is going to be their guy of the future. And with some options here at quarterback, I do think the Panthers lock in Justin Fields, quarterback from Ohio State. He falls to number 8 in this scenario. He competes with Teddy Bridgewater right off the bat. And ultimately, he is going to be their guy of the future. They have young weapons at wide receiver as well, with DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson's getting a little older, but he's still got some gas left in the tank. So Justin Fields is the pick for Carolina. Moving on to the Broncos, and this is a team that could pick quarterback. They could pick defense. They have a lot of needs, but we are actually going to go with the quarterback position here. Similar situation to Carolina. I don't think Drew Lock is the quarterback of the future for Denver. They need some competition there, and Trey Lance is a raw prospect with a lot of physical tools you need in the NFL. They could bring him in, compete with Drew Lock, even if he doesn't get the job right away, would be their quarterback of the future. So Trey Lance is the pick there for the Denver Broncos at 9. And we get to the Dallas Cowboys. Their needs are all on the defensive side of the ball. They could go D-line, they could go linebacker, they could go DB. I actually would love to see them take Patrick Surtain out of Alabama. In my opinion, he's the best cornerback in this draft. He is an alpha cornerback 1 who can match up against these big wide receivers in the NFL. So Patrick Surtain Jr. for the Dallas Cowboys at 10 is the selection. And on to the Giants at number 11. I want to see them take a weapon for Daniel Jones. They did franchise tag Leonard Williams, so they are going to retain him as a pass rusher, so that falls as a need just a little bit. I would love to see them address the offensive side of the ball with Golden Tate being cut, Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton not as true number 1 wide receivers. Let's see Jalen Waddle in this offense, a true speed guy, a true burner, along with Darius Slayton, who's a big option on the outside, and also Sterling Shepard, who's a great possession receiver with Evan Ingram at tight end. Let's see what Daniel Jones can do with those weapons. So Jalen Waddle's the pick for the Giants. Now at 12, San Francisco 49ers. All the big 4 quarterbacks are off the board here. I think it's probably a little early for Mac Jones. Wouldn't surprise me if he ended up vaulting into the top half of the first round. They have Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk at wide receiver, so I think they're set there. I would love to see them take a cornerback. Richard Sherman likely is going to be on the move. So let's see the San Francisco 49ers take Caleb Farley, cornerback out of Virginia Tech, get some of that defense healthy again after the injuries they suffered last season, and get back on track doing what they do best. Next up, the LA Chargers and Golden Boy Justin Herbert. What are they going to do for Justin Herbert? They need to make sure they protect him, get some elite young talent on the offensive line. Let's go ahead and slide Rashawn Slater in here for the LA Chargers. A guy who's versatile on the O-line and definitely has some room to grow as well. Absolute beast. So Slater is the pick for the Chargers. And now the Minnesota Vikings. They need a lot of help on the interior offensively and defensively. So we're going to pick an edge rusher here. We're going to pick Kwity Paye out of Michigan, one of the top edge rushers in the draft. Give them an identity on the defensive side of the ball, get some pressure on the quarterback. That is going to be our selection there. And now we have the New England Patriots. What on earth are we going to do? This might be a little bit of a reach, but I think Mac Jones is a potential choice, a potential option here for the New England Patriots. He showed a lot of upside at Alabama. He's starting to build some hype as he gets into this draft. Some teams are out on him, but I've heard some teams are really in on Mac Jones. They don't really have a ton of other options at the quarterback spot in free agency or the draft based on where they're picking here in the first round. So let's see them take Mac Jones. Maybe they bring in a veteran. Maybe they do retain Cam Newton. Maybe Mac Jones competes with Jarrett Stidham. I know it's not the best of options, but give them a shot at a quarterback of the future in a deep class, with Mac Jones here at the 15th overall selection. So for the Arizona Cardinals here at 16, I want to go on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to go with Christian Barmore from Alabama, interior defensive lineman. They drafted Isaiah Simmons last year on the defensive side of the ball, and they really need to keep adding young talent. So that is going to be our selection here for Arizona, as Kyler, Hopkins, Kingsbury, and the boys continue to try to make a push for the playoffs. Next up, the Las Vegas Raiders. I actually would love to see them take a tackle. They just traded Trent Brown to the New England Patriots. So why not watch them go ahead and pick his replacement, Christian Darrisaw here from Virginia Tech. They do need help on the defensive side of the ball as well, but I think they can address that later on in the draft. Next up at 18, the Miami Dolphins. We already locked in Jamar Chase on the offensive side of the ball. I would love to see the Miami Dolphins go with some defense here. I think if they lock up Chase, they're pretty set on the offensive side. They could go with an O-lineman, but I want to see them go defense. They did just cut Kyle Van Noy, so getting an edge rusher would make sense here. I actually want to see them go Gregory Rousseau from Miami. I think that would be a great pick for their defense, a good young replacement for Kyle Van Noy. And it makes sense for the Dolphins to pick up some defensive talent in round one. Next up at number 19, the Washington football team. I don't think there's going to be a quarterback here. Maybe if Mac Jones falls to this spot, they take a shot on him. But I would love to see them go with the wide receiver spot. And Terry McLaurin has been absolutely fantastic on the outside. But let's watch them take Rondale Moore here, a true Swiss Army knife type of player. He can get carries out of the backfield. He's dynamic in the slot. He's a really big play guy. They're going to find ways to get him in open space. Hopefully it opens things up for Terry McLaurin. And whoever's playing quarterback for Washington next year will appreciate this pick. Moving on to the 20th overall pick, the Chicago Bears. I don't know what they're going to do at the quarterback spot, but they also do need some help on the offensive line. They do still have a very strong defense. Allen Robinson's on the franchise tag. Darnell Mooney was a great pick for them last season in the 5th round. So let's go ahead and get them some youth on the offensive line. We're going to have to scroll down our board a little bit here. I think, Tevin Jenkins could be a pick, but I'm actually going to go with Elijah Vera Tucker. He has some versatility to play both the interior and on the outside on the offensive line. He's a young talent from USC. That could give the Bears just some versatility and youth they need on that line. The Bears have some veterans and some bigger contracts. So this would give them flexibility to potentially move on there if they wanted to. Also, just looking forward into 2021 and beyond, it's just really good to have depth on the O-line in this league, and that would really open things up for whoever the quarterback's going to be and the running game. They're going to continue to rely on David Montgomery. So Elijah Vera Tucker is the pick there for Chicago at 20. Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts, and they were able to lock in Carson Wentz with a trade. They could go edge rusher here. I know Justin Houston is a potential free agent, but I would love to see them address the offensive side of the ball if possible. I'm hoping they pick up a wide receiver in free agency because I am a Colts fan. But if not, let's see where else they can go at the wide receiver spot. And this one just is easy to me. It's Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota. He's an absolute player and played with Tyler Johnson a couple seasons ago. And he doesn't really have any weaknesses. So he has the ability to be a true wide receiver one. And I think the Colts would have a home run pick there with Bateman late in the 1st round. Next up is the Tennessee Titans. And this one's going to be easy. I want to see them take an edge rusher. Jadeveon Clowney, they tried to bring in last season, didn't really play up to his full potential, battled some injuries here and there as well. So at the risk of butchering this name, I am going to have the Titans taking Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher from Georgia, to address that need. All right, we're coming down the stretch here. Next, we have the Jets back on the clock. We took Zach Wilson at the 2nd overall pick. They need wide receiver help as well. Denzel Mims is there. I don't expect them to keep Jamison Crowder heading into next season. They don't really have anyone else. So let's get a wide receiver for the New York Jets, really rebuild this offense. You could go Elijah Moore here. You could go Kadarius Toney here. There are some options further down the board as well, Terrace Marshall, and some others. But we are going to go ahead and lock in Kadarius Toney out of Florida, give them another young wide receiver to go along with Denzel Mims for their quarterback, Zach Wilson, in this scenario. Next is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if Mac Jones falls here, I could see them taking their quarterback of the future, but with Big Ben expected to be back, I don't see that happening. Bud Dupree is set to hit the open market on the defensive side of the ball. They might have to move on from guys like Joe Hayden as well at the cornerback spot. So we're going to go ahead and lock in a cornerback to continue to build this dominant Steelers defense. That's their identity. That's how they win games. And then we'll see what Big Ben can do on the offense with Chase Claypool, with Deontay Johnson, expecting Juju Smith-Schuster to be gone. So we're going to take J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cameron Sutton's a free agent. You know, Joe Hayden could easily be a cut candidate as they try to get under the cap. So we're going to lock in J.C. Horn for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think the Steelers go running back there. They have too many other needs. Maybe they could pick one up later on in the draft. But next 25, Jacksonville Jaguars. We were able to pick up Trevor Lawrence. Now we're going to flip to the defensive side of the ball. Again, I'm going to butcher this name, but let's take best available here at safety. Trevon Moehrig, that's my guess on how to pronounce his name, but fills a need for Jacksonville. They need all sorts of help on defense. A lot of the elite cornerbacks are off the board here. They could go edge rusher Jason Away or even Jalen Phillips, but I think they go ahead and take a defensive back here with Moehrig out of TCU. Next on the clock, Cleveland Browns. I think it makes sense for them to get a linebacker, a run stuffer, just a solid piece in the middle of the defense. And I think they can find that in Nick Bolton, linebacker out of Missouri. They have playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, but they just need some stability in the middle, stopping the run. So Nick Bolton is the pick there for the Cleveland Browns. Next up, coming down the stretch here, Baltimore Ravens. They have a lot of needs. They need wide receiver. They could use some help on the offensive line as well, but they could also use help in the pass rushing game. I mean, you got Matt Judon and Yannick Ngakoue set to be free agents. They're definitely not going to get both back, maybe not even one. On the offensive line, you also have Orlando Brown Jr. causing all sorts of trouble here, trying to leave town or say he's a left tackle to get that paycheck. So for the Baltimore Ravens, there's a lot of different things in play. They could go on the offensive line. They could go wide receiver. They could go with some defense to help address some of the guys that are set to leave in free agency. So what I'm going to do for the Ravens here is I'm going to take an offensive lineman. I'm going to take Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State. I think the Ravens ultimately will be forced to move on from Orlando Brown because of the contract that he's going to demand. And Tevin Jenkins could slide in on that offensive line, help protect Lamar Jackson. Next on the clock, New Orleans Saints. Man, so we expect Jameis Winston to be the quarterback, but we don't really know for sure. I actually would love to see the Saints take another wide receiver. They've cut Jared Cook. They've cut Emmanuel Sanders. They're having to make some tough moves here because they are so far over the cap. Elijah Moore from Ole Miss, wide receiver, makes sense for the Saints. Have a nice number 2 there behind Michael Thomas. If you are going to turn it over to Jameis Winston or someone else, you want them to have some more weapons to throw the ball to. So Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss is the pick for the Saints. Now we're getting into these final 4. These teams that made the AFC and NFC championships. First is going to be the Green Bay Packers. They do have all sorts of needs, but this is a home run pick for me. It's Zaven Collins, linebacker out of Tulsa, a versatile, athletic guy for the Green Bay Packers. He can stop the run. He can guard the pass. He can get after the passer. So this is a home run pick. Zaven Collins is a do-it-all linebacker, another young piece for the defense. They already have a stud in Jair Alexander in the secondary. Let's get them Zaven Collins and get that run D a little bit stronger heading into 2021. So Zaven Collins from Tulsa is the pick. The Buffalo Bills here are an interesting team. They could potentially have needs at wide receiver, but I don't expect them to go there after picking up Stephon Diggs. They got Cole Beasley as well, and Gabriel Davis showed a lot of promise last season. The offensive line could be a need. Darrell Williams is a free agent, so they might need to pick up a tackle to help protect Josh Allen. They could use some help on the defensive side of the ball as well, but we're going to go ahead and lock in Sam Cosmi from Texas. Assume Darrell Williams leaves in free agency, and they bring in Sam Cosmi to replace him on the offensive side of the ball. Coming down the stretch here, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. We saw what happened in the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes. He was under fire the entire game. Yes, I know there were some injuries, some opt-outs last season and things like that, but let's get the Kansas City Chiefs help on the offensive line. If they're going to win Super Bowls, it's going to be on the shoulders of Patrick Mahomes, and they need him to be protected in the pocket. So we're going to go Wyatt Davis, guard out of Ohio State for the Chiefs. And last but not least, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this is where things get interesting. They could go edge rusher. They could go offense. You know, with Levante David now coming back, Chris Godwin on the franchise tag, there's a lot of different ways the Bucs could go. It's really tough to see what their needs are going to be. It still remains to be seen whether they can just go ahead and run it back heading into next season. But one area where they could really elevate, and this could be controversial, is the running back spot. I expect Leonard Fournette to move on. Ronald Jones has shown flashes. Keyshawn Vaughn didn't get much of an opportunity there last season, but we're actually going to go with the running back spot. And we're going to go with Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama. In my opinion, the best running back in this draft. He can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. So we're going to lock in Najee for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, let's see how we did according to PFF. A lot of these top 10 picks were pretty easy selections, so it looks good. Let's see what they didn't like. They liked the Lance pick to the Denver Broncos. Awesome. So Gregory Rousseau to Miami. Not the best grade. Rashad Bateman, some of these guys late in the first round, they didn't seem to like quite as much. But overall, it seems like PFF is in agreement with a lot of these selections late in the draft. You'll always see teams have higher grades on different guys. Guys slip up into the top 10, up into the first round. And I'm sure we are going to see some trading go on in this draft. And as I get into more mock drafts, I will continue to add more and more trades for some realistic opportunities on some of these teams to either move back or move up and get those positions of need. So thank you for watching. I want to know which selections you liked or didn't like in the comments below. Also, be sure to sign up for that newsletter in the link in the description. But again, this is Alex from Double Move Sports, and we'll see you next time.